Fish Finder, or is it on your?
Fish Finder and phone. I have an app on my phone, so it's right here. I can
Are
look.
you saying it's also on my Fish Finder?
Yeah. If yours is less than 10 years old, it's on there. Guaranteed. What kind do you
That's
have?
the damnedest.
What kind do you have?
The Garmin. Bass Pro.
Oh, that brand? Some of them you have to put a chip in there, but if yours is less than 8 years old, it's on there.
The embarrassing question is, how do you update your unit?
You got it, depends what brand you have. You just go to their website, and then I wouldn't do it through Wi-Fi. I would do it, load it on a chip. So you download it off the website, put it on a chip, and then put the chip in your unit. So there's another issue that just a friend of mine was reading, and he sent me this thing, and they're saying that now the way that technology, that they can do it, that sometimes that doing these updates will put a bug in your unit. So I had a client call me and go, I update my unit, but now my 2D sonar don't work. So then it's like 3 days later, I get this article from my buddy, and I read it, and I go, oh shit. So, I got a meeting with this guy and see if I can straighten it out for him, but, the way technology is nowadays, they could do whatever they want. So, I think after a fish finder company figures you had your unit over 6 years, time to buy it. So, there's just a lot of things going on.
What brand do you like?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, I've been with Lowrance for 45 years, and I just jumped ship to Humminbird. So I'm a Humminbird guy now. And that's just personal reasons that they didn't treat me right, so I just moved on. And I'm glad I did. The new technology, so Humminbird, so basically there's this show called ICAST in Florida, and every July, all the manufacturers from reels, motors, everything, they go to ICAST and they show off the new stuff. And the only people who can go there are dealers or buyers. So when this year for the electronics, Garmin, Lowrance, Humminbird, they're all there. And Humminbird with this new unit called Explorer won everything. So when I went to Humminbird and asked them, because I wanted their trolling motor, which is a Minn Kota, because I was having so much trouble with my Lowrance. That's why I had the issue with Lowrance, and they wouldn't give me a lower unit. And I had 2 of their motors, because I had one for backup. And then, so Minn Kota's been trying to get, and Humminbird been trying to get me switched for 20 years. And I kept saying no. And then finally, I asked them, can I get a motor? And they said, if you get a motor, you have to change everything. Well, when I was reading about the ICAST and how that thing won everything, I said, okay, I'll take those. But see, Humminbird quit my boat. They put 4 of these units on my boat, trolling motor, power poles and everything. They put $15,000 worth of product on my boat and never charged me a dime. So basically, when I put this stuff on, I only did it because that, I was reading about how I won everything at this show. So Humminbird would give me, they make 2 other models that are better than this one, that are like $5,000–6,000 each. I could have got any of those, but I told them, give me the Explorer, because it's more practical for the average fisherman to afford one. And then they asked me why. It's not, normally like when someone wants to give you something, you just get the best, right? And I said, well, I do consulting. So I take people on the water, and the guys listening, man, this guy's got $4,000–6,000 units on his boat. That's insane. My wife could kill me, right? So you can't afford it. So I said, just give me this one. I'm pretty sure that it'll do everything I want to do, and it has. It does more. I really don't know how to run the whole thing, fully, because I haven't spent enough time. So, but I'm really happy with it. They got the best mapping there is. I mean, I did a seminar about the mapping, just mapping, and with the Humminbirds, you can adjust the water height. And then, like if you're chasing any kind of fish that follow contours, or also in a certain depth of water, I can highlight it. So like at Berryessa, when I'm bass fishing earlier in the year, I would highlight, I was catching them in 40 to 50 feet. So I highlight 40 to 50, and I do different colors, and then in yellow I did 40, 50. And then I look at the map, and I can see where the lines are close together. I know it's steep, where the lines are far apart, I know it's flat. And I can see all the bends and cracks and all the creeks and everything. I just go over there and turn the graph on and go, oh, there they are, and start catching the heck out of them by just looking at the map. See, so that thing, like if you took all my fish finders away from me, I'd go home. I wouldn't fish. I depend on them so much, I would just go home. Okay, any more questions before I go on? Okay, so basically, there's this new bait called Balls bait. Me and the owner are real good friends. I've been working with them on these lures. And the guy that created the jig head for it also been helping us design this bait. And people would ask me, why do you think that bait, you know, because I used to make my own swim baits, but I've done so much, I don't use stuff, I trick everything out that I touch. So basically, when I'm out fishing and I catch 20 fish on this bait, 19 of them down his throat. So a lot of them, I'm reeling and they hit right here. I see them come up and hit it in their throat. So if a fish takes it in his throat every time I catch one, it's telling me that this thing got this fish pulled to the hill. Man, this guy, this bait is something special about it. And people that go with me, it's just unbelievable. You know, everything's choked. They swallow this thing. First time Denise threw it, it's called 10-pounder. She goes to pull the lure out, and you know the crunchers in the back of the striper, 10-pounder. She pulled it and the tail broke off. And I'm going, look, you got to tickle them before you pull the hook out because these crunchers are going to just ruin your bait. So they're like $15 for a swim bait, which is very reasonable. But the thing is, you can catch over 20 fish on this bait. The lead head will never go off target. So like if you take a regular swim bait and you catch 5 fish and they get chewed up pretty good, the weight shifts. Well, these guys put some kind of chemical on the lead, and when they put it on there, you have to burn it off. It won't come off. So the bait has to be almost torn in half for it not to be centered. So every time you throw it out and you reel it back, it tracks straight. So when I was at the IST show, I threw it in a tank because Denise wanted to video it. And she said, hey, Alan, that thing don't even move. Well, think about it. Then I take another bait and throw it out there and the tail's going like this. And she's videoing it. And she goes, look at that one. And I go, yeah, but that one won't catch nothing. So basically, like if you look at these fish that are in these tanks, you see them swimming, darting all around, tail going like this. No, but obviously, if a fish is on a feeding frenzy, anything that's flashing, you're going to get better results. But on average, if a fish is ready to ambush, they'll see a big fish going to go eat something that's big. They think they want to target just sitting there going like this, being nonchalant. They just come up and suck. And I learned a lot when I made my swim bait, and there's a lot of things that I did that it took me years to get this thing dialed. And then after I started using it, so basically a swim bait, when you go look at them in a store, you're going to have a floater, a slow sink, and a fast sink. So that's how fast the lure drops, right? So basically, I had one that on my swim bait that I used for bass, and when it sunk, that thing would sink about a foot per second. But when I was in a lake at Pardee, it sank down. Then when it got down, and I was in 100-something feet, and got down to 60 feet, and it stopped. Because see, these baits, they're made to rise. They're resin, and they rise like this. But you put weights in them to get this sink rate. The faster you want to sink, the more weight you put in. Depends on where you put the weight, how much it wobbles. There's a lot to it. Well, anyway, I was out in Pardee, and I threw the swim bait out, and I know I'm in 100 feet, and I'm counting it, and at 60 it stopped. I'm going like this, but it's don't sink. So basically what happens when I get the thermocline, the water got dense, it stopped. And all of a sudden, bam, I get a fish. And I was catching these fish just throwing it out, letting it suspend, because that's where your bigger ones live. They live right by that thermocline. So basically, first 10 fish I caught, every one on the back hook. So I'm thinking, I'm going, why on the back hook? Because you know, when a fish is sitting there and you came to the head like this, whoo, they're not going to catch it. But when they come up in the back and grab it and injure it and then turn around, spin it and eat it. See, so it just, things just start clicking in my head, and I learned so much over the years about presentation and presenting But when I got forward facing, it is game over because I see the screen, I see the fish, and I see how they react to my lure. And if it sinks too bad, like crappie, I was talking to one of you guys, a crappie fish, and you'll go and you're catching every cast, throw it out, say, boom, you get one. And pretty soon I catch 20 or 30, you think, oh, they're all gone. With forward facing, I still see them in the trees, but they won't bite it. The lure goes down, I see them go like this, and they don't bite it. So I put a bobber on, throw it out at that depth, put it out, and I watch it on the screen, and the lure goes like that and stop. Fish go. Dum. I learned so much with this forward facing. So now I do it. I use it for everything what I'm doing. When I'm fishing in 1 to 2 feet of water in grass, you can go, how the hell do you bring that in and not get grass all the time? Well, there's ways you can do it. And I found out how to do it. Now I'm catching the hell of it. So I'm going to show you guys. Okay, first of all, I think the easiest way real quick, if you wanted to get your odds on catching a big striper, top water. You want to throw top water. So basically, I think if I would tell a guy, if you wanted to go get a decent swim, top water, I would get an IMA. They're called IMA big stick. They're this big here. And you need to change the hooks. And probably a split rings. Because they will straighten the ones that come out. Some of these IMA big sticks, they put these like 3X or 4X hooks on them. They're too thick and you can't drive the hook through the fish's mouth. So if you take a 8-pound striper, you won't have no problem. You get a 30-pound striper, you ain't gonna pull that hook through his lip. Their mouths are so much tougher. So then I'll go to the 2X and then change them. I use braid on everything I throw down the delta. I don't use anything less than 50, mostly 50 and 65. I run top shots on mine. There's the leader, there's a knot right here. I use an Alberto knot, and I have this much 25-pound test fluorocarbon on here. Well, this is actually a hybrid, so it kind of floats more. So basically, if I tied the braid straight to this lure, and I would yank it, it would just go like this. But because what happens when I run braid and you yank it, the braid's floating on the top, so the lure just kind of scoots on the top. Now when I put this little piece of fluorocarbon from right here to here, when I throw this, I let it sit, that line sinks. So now I got this, the line like this down in the water. So now when I yank it, this bait goes like this. It arcs back and forth. And sometimes they like it like that, sometimes they like it just straight. You gotta find out the way they want it. So basically, I use reels that carry like 100, 120 pounds of braid because I could usually stop them. And if I can't, I just get on an electric motor and go chase them. But I use stiff rods and I use long rods, so I get a lot more leverage. So these are stiff rods, these are probably heavy. And I use these reels every one of my reels are all 5-to-1 gear ratio. That's why most of my reels are all older, because you can't buy new ones. All the manufacturers now go 7, 8, 10, 12-to-1 gear ratio. When you're throwing baits and stuff, you want to throw it real slow. You want to throw them, so I still use 5-to-1. I'll keep repairing mine, I'll keep fixing them until they don't turn no more, or I can't get parts. But I do use slow gear ratio reels. I don't have any trouble when I set the hook to keep up with the fish. If you set the hook and your line goes slack, then yeah, you might want to get a faster gear ratio. Okay, so top water is an easy way to fool fish. I don't care what kind of fish you're fishing for, is because when they look up, they can't really see. Sometimes I catch fish the same size as that lure because they can't really see it. They just see an image of it scooting across. So that's probably one of the easiest ways to get a big one, but they don't always bite top water. So this one I've been using for years. They used to call it fish trap. This is a swim bait. It's a small swim bait. Very effective way to catch stripers. And I use a 1/2 ounce jig head on it. This is 5-inch. This is one of those elastic ones that stretch. Fish Trap is no longer in business. They made the best one. And you can look at these baits, and there's tons of manufacturers that make them. And you look at them, they all look the same, but they don't all work the same in the water. So some of these baits, the tails really kick really hard, and some of them don't. So the ones, if I'm fishing in water that's 6 degrees or less, I want less tail action. If I'm fishing warmer water, then I want more kicking action. So it just depends. So I have all these baits, and you look in my box, and you go, shit, they all look the same to me. They're all 5 inches, they're all white, they all got the same kind of tail, but they don't kick the same. So if I didn't know that I wanted less tail kick in colder water and more tail action, you know, who knows? So, you know, if you're anal like me, you pay attention, you'll learn real quick. And that gal that I fish with, Denise, she knows now, she says, hey, that ballsy bait works really good when the water's cold, when the water's in 50 to 58 degrees. So yesterday we were out, the water was 68 degrees, and I proved it wrong. We caught the hell out of it. Okay, so that's another, this is probably one that I would always tell people, you know, this is one bait, because these are a lot reasonable. You want to glue them on too. You super glue them on at home, not on the water, and make sure you put them on straight. I did a video on YouTube how to put them on right. You want to put them on straight. So that if you put it on crooked, good luck. Fish gotta be starving. Okay, I'm gonna talk about one of the forages on those striper tail Delta are crawdads. They eat crawdads. They love crawdads. It's part of their food chain. This is a bait that I use. I catch a ton of stripers on it. It's called a chatterbait. It vibrates through the water. It kicks. I mean, you can feel your rod going like this when you're reeling, and when you quit feeling it shake, set the hook, and there's something on the end of it. So basically, this bait here, I can fish it in 1 to 2 feet of water and not get one piece of grass on it. So basically, can you guys hear me if I don't hold this? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So basically, when I'm throwing this thing here, I would take a client out and I would just watch him. So the guy casts out for 2 feet of water, and he throws out, and he goes like this, and he starts reeling. Brings it in, he's got grass over, he's knocking the shit out of the grass. Casts out again, puts his rod down here, and he gets grass on it. And I'll let him do it for 5 times. And I'll say, look, he goes, hey, is there any fish around here? And I said, look, dude, you don't know what you're doing. So, if you throw out 5 times and you come back with grass 4.5 times, you're not gonna catch anything, all right? And then that's what I told him. I said, if a fish is, 2 feet of water, I don't care where your lure is, he's gonna eat it. He's up there feeding. So basically, I take this thing, it's 3/8 ounce, I take it like this, I throw it out, and as soon as it hits the water, I lift up my rod like that, and I reel, holding it up here, like this. And they crush this thing. I mean, literally, they swallow. So yesterday, I caught a ton of fish on this. I catch bass, I catch stripers, wallfish, they all eat this thing. So guys will look at this and they'll go into like Fisherman's Warehouse and they go, I don't see that tail. Yeah, you ain't gonna, they don't make that color. You gotta dye your own. See, so basically, you can get this bait, this chatterbait, it's called a jackhammer. And it's one of the best ones. You're gonna see there's probably like 6 manufacturers that make a chatterbait, but none of them are like this one. This one kicks the butt. It's called a jackhammer. This little bait here, $20.
Plus the tail.
Plus the tail. So this is a Yamamoto Zako. It's the best one to get. It's called a Zako. It's 4 inches. And then you gotta dip and dye it in red dip and dye. And the color that I start with is chartreuse black bass. So basically, and then when you stick this in the dip and dye, if you hold it in there, count to 10, you lift it up, half of it's gonna be gone. It disintegrates. So you just dip it in, lift it out, put it on paper towel. Dip it in, dip it out. It penetrates that fast. If you leave it in there, it's gonna melt. Then by the time I do 6, I grab the top, dump the tail in, and you're done. But it's a killer. Can't troll these though. You gotta cast them. You can't troll. And the thing is I use on my rod, this one, all my rods are usually 7.2 to 8 feet. And you want something that's fast. You want to have something that has a little bit of a light tip on a chatterbait, but you want a lot of action. And in my drags, when I'm fishing, you can't hardly pull it out. because I'm in graft, and they can't break me off. I use a 50-pound test, 25, you know, when it gets where I almost feel it's gonna break, then I'll go with them, or I get on electric motor. But, you know, you gotta tug of war with them. And a lot of times they get stuck in the grass and I have to go get them. So, but this is a very deadly bait because it imitates a crawdad. Looks just like one. So every time when I'm reeling like this and I hit the grass, I just go like that, and it explodes out of the grass, and it's shaking, so all the grass spurts off, and bam! They hit it, because they think it's like a crawdad coming out of the grass. Very effective. Hog bait. This is the hottest thing there is on the market today. I got to use this thing for a year before I even said anything. And this thing is a killer. So basically, there's an insert in here, it's 3/8 of an ounce. I had him make me a quarter, but it's a little bit harder to run because it's harder to get the track straight. But this is the one that's in production, it's foul proof. This thing, you could catch over 20 fish on it before it gets destroyed. And it'll tear, and I just glue it back and keep going. But then when you put glue on these, it gets hard, and then pretty soon it's hard like a brick. But this tail don't hardly move. When you reel, you're gonna think, the hell's wrong with this thing? But they love this thing. Every fish that eats it swallows. I don't use swivel, I never will. You put a swivel on here, it actually catches more grass. Plus, when you get a big fish, it might probably gonna open up. They make clips that'll work and hold better, but I just don't like them. I rather tie this way here that I'm always checking it, you know, because if I feel fray, I'm gonna retie it, and it's good just to retie anyway. And I never had these come out here. But when I used to use swivel on a kid, I've had too many open up, so I quit using them. You'll never see swivel on my fish. So basically, this bait here, this eye and the lead is at an angle upward. So when I cast it out and I reel, I hold my rod up in the air like this, it goes right over the top of the grass. And they crunch it. Can't throw it. If you throw it, it's gonna go off to the side. You can't go slow enough. Remember, 5-to-1 gear ratio or 6-to-1 gear ratio is the fastest this goes. This rod's 7 feet 5 and it's kind of stout. It's got a lot of backbone. So when I set the hook, it's solid. You want it, when you set it, that's one of the things I always tell Denise, because she don't sit hard enough, and she'll hook them, and then they go on the grass and they come off. And I said, you tighten your drag down and just reel. Don't, she'll set the hook and you look at her rod. I go, what are you looking at? She wants to see if it's bent and how big it is. I said, shit, you look when it gets to the boat. When it's out there, you're gonna lose them. Just keep reeling. So I tighten her drag so she can't pull it out. See, so, you know, that way there, you know, anything, it'll just get dug in the weeds, we just go get it. But you wanna use something that's stiff enough. But this bait here, when I cast it out, I hold my rod just like that chatterbait, because I'm fishing grass, I hold it up like here, and reel. When they hit it, I just set the hook and reel, and just keep yanking until I feel it solid, and every time it's an improvement. Just an unbelievable bait. There's some other stuff that's coming out that I'm testing. I used it yesterday, and I put one on Denise's rod. She caught quite a few on it, and it's just a little bit different. So this one here is, I would call it idiot proof, because this one is a no-brainer. You hold your rod up when you reel it, you'll catch them. And I would fish it anywhere down to like 8 feet at the most, and you shouldn't have any trouble catching a ton of fish on it. But you can't throw it. You gotta catch.
Alan, what knot are you tying it on with?
I tie, when I join it, I use an Alberto knot, and it's kind of bulletproof. So people that I fish with, I see them slip out, because what I do is when I tie an Alberto, anybody guys use an Alberto? Okay. So when you get done and you tie it, you get done, you clip the mono or the fluorocarbon as close as you can. And then the braid you clip, I usually clip about 1/8 of an inch. But I lick it, because whenever you deal with fluorocarbon, if you knot it and pull it, it'll burn it, and you got 1/2 pound of what it's rated at. So if you put 20-pound test and you just pull it, you only have 15 or 10-pound test breaking strength. So you gotta wet it. So I spit on it real good and pull it and tighten it. Then that little 1/4 of an inch, I take a lighter and I burn it. So I put the nub on it, it never come out. Never. On the other end, I use a trilene. A lot of guys will use a Palomar knot, and I show people in the shop how good a Palomar knot is. I said, if you're a trout fisherman, they're fine. But if you're gonna do stuff like what I'm doing, it'll break. And I show people, because, you know, you guys all know what maximum line is, right? That stuff's tougher than hell, it's stiff, right? And I tell guys, tie a Palomar knot on there on a sinker, and I'll wrap the line in my hand, and I go watch. Poof, 25 pounds as it breaks. Sucks. But for trout, it's fine. But when you're dealing like this, I use a trilene, so I go through the eye twice, 4 times, back through, and then through again, and cinches. Never break. I use it for everything. Braid, this, everything I use is that knot and the Alberto. There's a lot of different knots like the Alberto that are very effective. And basically, if you look at them, they're all basically line twist and then back over and then cinched together. And they hold, they do not come apart. So, and then here again, 50-pound test. This is 25-pound test leader, and it's only about this long.
So did you say that was a 6-inch half ounce?
3/8, 6 inch.
3/8.
They only make 2 sizes. This one and an 8 inch. They only make 2. And they only make 4 colors. And they all work.
And they're all fishermen's.
No. You gotta go online. You have to go online.
Online, okay.
You can't, right now, he don't have it. So they're what we call injected. So they have aluminum mold, and then they shoot the plastic. So that holds the hook. They gotta coat that thing with that chemical, and then they inject them. And then they gotta open it, and then it's got a cure time. So they only could do so many, and he's overwhelmed. The only stores that carry them are Reggie's in Freeport, and he don't ever have any. He'll bring them 50, and they're gone in one day.
How do you spell balls? Ballsy.com?
BALLGY.com.
Zero.
Yeah. And you can get them on, he has a website, and I told him he needs to start doing back ordering, because if you go on there and you want them, you'll wait, right? So you go on there, and then pretty soon, there's some available, you go on, they're all gone. And if you do a back order, make them prepay, and then just send them when you get them, and do those first. But right now, he doesn't know which way he wants to do. But like I said, when I tell them, like, they wanted some for here, I told them, hey, I need 10 for the club. So he'll do them. So, and I never run out.
What was the name of that dog? Alberto?
Yeah.
That's the splice.
And then trilene at the thing.
What?
That's
Okay,
the
so
splice.
you wanna catch a big one.
What about
you're
the-
using it.
Then he uses the trilene, that's a big.
Mostly get the
for
knot
striper
at the
dip, right?
hook?
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, if I'm deeper, I usually use a spoon or that smaller swim bait. But for this kind of other stuff, I target big fish, I go with a girl. So, yeah, I was down by Brandon Island on the San Joaquin last week, and I was in like 2 feet, and I threw a chatterbait in there, and I hooked one, and he's thrashing all over the place. Probably 10, 12 pounds. Come on. I don't know why it came off, but it came off. And then I didn't even cast like maybe 20 feet down further. I hooked another one. He swam out deep water. Came off. I'm going, God, having one of these days. So my buddy, he throws in. He gets one about 12. And then I threw in. I caught 20. And this boat came trolling by me closer than here to the door. He's trolling. And he saw me catch that one. And he's trolling. And he actually goes, hey, Alan, but I was wearing this, so he could have just read it. But I got logos on the boat and everything else. But he went trolling by, and I don't know what he's pulling, but he is in 6 feet of water, and he ain't bothering my fish. And he can't troll in 2 feet. It's impossible. So basically, we're working on a new bait. This one here, they make that one with the hook in it, 8 inches, but we're building these new ones, 6 and 8, that don't have a hook. So this one, when I first got it, I was over there in Liberty. I was in less than 2 feet. I was like in 1 feet. And I was drifting, and once in a while, I would get too close to the fish, and he'd he'd take off. And I go a little further, and he'd take off. And damn, So I backed off, and then when the tide dropped, I went over there and I put this thing on. It's got a 12-aught hook in it.
12.
12-aught. See the hook? That's a hook. So basically, I know anything get close to it, I'm gonna cook them. So this thing here, this hook goes up in the body, there's a slot cut in it, and the hook sits in there like this. So this bait here, when I throw it on the water, it just sits there. And then I hold my rod up like this, and then you gotta throw totally different kind of equipment. This rod's 8 foot, stiff as a board, very stiff as a parabolical, and I use a 65-pound braid with 25-pound leader. That's an Alberta. So this particular bait here, I was testing it, I caught a 22-pounder after I saw those ones take off, and then 3 casts later, I caught a 30 in less than a foot. And it's not like when you catch a big fish in deep water, you know, where he just goes down, he's going like this. These things just go AWOL, just crashing all over the place, weeds flying all over the place. I mean, there's nothing like it, you know, it's like unbelievable. But these, you have to get the kind of bait that you can throw in there, cast after cast, and not get no grass. Big fish want to eat one time. A 5-pounder eat this. They only want to eat once. They don't want to go chasing those little ass shadows. They want to eat one time. So when I do this, and I want to make sure that I have something, and this hook here, I could tow a truck with it. You ain't gonna bend this hook. So once I get this thing stuck in them, they ain't coming off. And you know, you're talking about a 30-pound fish. His lips are pretty thick and they're tough. So you gotta set that hook out, set. You know, if you're standing next to me, you better watch out because you might be going in the drink. I sit hard. I don't play around when I set really hard. And drag, you can't hardly pull that. But these are some of the baits, and basically, I do all these baits to the conditions I'm fishing. So before, you know, if you asked me 10, 15 years ago if I was catching those big fish in there, I'd say, yeah, but I was using hard swim baits. These soft ones are easier to get through that kind of stuff. But, you know, 20 years ago, I would never think of big fish being in that shallow all the time. But, you know, I run into sturgeon, actually bumping with my trolling motor when I'm in Liberty. So, you know, those fish are there. So, all those fish go up there for one reason, that's to get food. And that's where the food chain is, in shallow water. That's where they feel safe. Otherwise, they'd all be gone.
What's the line rating on your rods that you use?
This one, I think it's 12 to 25. So, but mainly, you know, when you go look at pick up rods in different manufacturers, and you read on there, and then you go like this on them, they're all different. So you have to feel it and see what kind of power you need to get those fish out. Something that you're throwing big stuff, you want what we call parabolic, so it just doesn't bend on the top, you'll break it. You want the rod to bend all the way through the rod. You want to see it bend, not just on the tip. Now with a chatterbait, you just want the tip to bend. And so there's different rods to make them work properly, make the lure work properly. You gotta have the right action in your rod. There's a combination of everything from your line, gear ratio, your base, how you have them hooked, and everything. And it's taken me years and years and years to figure this stuff out. And 20 years ago, I was super quiet. I didn't say much. And I just go off catch. And then people that go with me, you know, if they got in their own boat and went out, they can't catch them. Because it's something about the boat control, about putting it in the right position. You know, always looking in the water, see which way the weeds are laying. And to me, in my mind, I know that fish is sitting right there because that's the only way he can stay still is looking in the current. See, so I know, I look, I wear glasses that I can see, and I'm always looking at the way the weeds are and I'm moving forward. And these guys I fish with all the time, they never ask me, so I don't think. Dave, he goes, man, fish follow you everywhere. But it's just putting all these little things together makes you a lot better fisherman than the next guy. I don't care what you do, trolling, whatever. always a little trick to everything. And then even like the sonar, like forward facing, I use it for following weeds. I can stay right on the weeds from here to there, every time. Weeds don't go straight. They're in and out, in and out, and where in and out is where the fish are. So they stay on that edge, looking in the current, so they can stay